All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. We are back again. The conversation was still going on even during the break. And now joining us is Boaz Waruku, governance and reform and advocacy expert as well. Thank you for coming in for this discussion around the CBC. But there's a lot of feedback coming through on the conversation we had earlier on the MP's privileges and the gravy train. And Sosion, we are back with you. How is the issue of, talk to me about conscience. As a NAT Secretary General, you're fighting for fairness. But as a legislator, now you seem to be fighting for privilege. At what point does your conscience come in?
That's a wrong judgment. It's absolutely wrong judgment.
Is it true that just last week, in fact, just a few days ago, you were pushing to have teachers get more money?
Very honestly, it doesn't mean that in my privilege as a parliamentarian, I am limited from speaking what I understand best and what is right for Parliament. I have a duty to do that, and I've done that. And that does not mean I am condemning the very people that I represent, the workers and the teachers in the trade movement, because that is by invitation, that is a constituency that I represent. And therefore, trying to assert that I have suddenly changed my position.
But your conscience is no longer sensitive. It's no longer sensitive to the people you represent.
My conscience is extremely sensitive to the people I represent, and it is extremely sensitive to the people who represent the people, because the people cannot be without the leaders who lead them. And so, speaking what is truthful is always my belief. With my experience and my role in Parliament, I think I'm under duty to speak what is right.
So your truth at this particular stage is that this travel is not wasteful?
It is not wasteful.
Absolutely. What difference would it have been if a team of 5 or 10 went for the same trip? Do you think they would have come back with less value? Because I think many Kenyans won't argue about the necessity of the trip or not, but the number. Why so many? And it is important to see what is happening out there. But the number that are earmarked for this trip or that have already traveled.
There is always a good reason why there's a huge number. Ask yourself, why is it the Speaker of the Senate and why is it the Speaker of the National Assembly who have traveled? There are reasons. I don't have those reasons at the moment, but I know.
But you're defending them as if you have the reasons.
Yes,
in fact, I thought you had insights that maybe we here on this table don't have.
Yes, I'm saying you can see the Speaker of the Senate, the Speaker of the National Assembly, and a huge team. And this is a program that is not secret. It's an open program within Parliament. And so there are legitimate reasons, I'm extremely sure.
Okay, and, so speak to me about fairness.
And I invite,
is it fair?
And I invite the media. I invite everybody.
Is it
I invite everybody.
Now let's just talk about it on a basic pedestrian angle. Is it fair for someone who's watching today?
If we are even demonizing a musician,
no.
There is nothing wrong if a musician can address it. It's an artist.
We have a guest here.
And therefore, we are blowing things out of proportion. What now Kenyans need to know, what you need to know, and what we need to know.
Yesterday, we looked at a payslip for a teacher who was earning 83,000 shillings. The teacher was one of the most highly paid.
Are you suggesting that you want to transfer this money to the payslip?
We are saying that our priorities are twisted. That's what we are saying. Should we allocate more resources in places where they are needed for fairness' sake rather than just for traveling?
Agreed. We should appropriate money where it is. Where it's needed most.
Therefore, this is wasteful.
And of course, no, I cannot condemn this. This is a program. It's an activity.
Sorry, you've waded into a different discussion, but I know you must have thoughts nevertheless.
Sorry, thank you.
As a governance expert.
Thanks for bringing me on board. And besides that, I think I also deal a lot with education matters. And precisely, I think that's why I'm here. On the issue of the MP's trip, I don't even know how come we have reached that level. One, I do assume that there are certain systems that guide how our state institutions operate, that those systems cannot be bent, and that those systems would provide a way through which any trip, you call them trip, for me, I want to look at, is it a mission that has a purpose? And this mission that has a purpose, I mean, what is the best way to accomplish that purpose? And in my thinking and my understanding, I think when the state institutions operate, one, they must be very sensitive to the public. At a time when the public is still looking at the scarcities, say in the education sector, you go around and you see many schools which are not properly developed as we speak. We see the large sizes of classrooms which have not been addressed because we do not have adequate teachers. In fact, I think this is the time that Kenyans should be supporting the teacher unions to ensure that we have those number of teachers. So in terms of prioritization, I think we should get it right. And we should not go to the extent that then our state officials then start looking at trips as income-generating activities. The moment we start looking at trips as income-generating activities, that is where then you'll have such scandals like those who collect passports, take to the border for stamping and returning. When we start looking at trips as income-generating activities, that is when you'll find yourself in a conference. I've been to several conferences. In fact, I've even seen cases where a number of attendees or delegates, they go and you'll find virtually most of the seats are empty. I've seen that. I was with a colleague from Malawi. The interesting thing is that actually he took a photo of the Malawian delegation, that the seats were completely empty. And that had got a repercussion back at home.
So let me ask you this. You're sitting next to a man for whom you are fighting for reforms in education with, right? As a man familiar to you, he's not a stranger.
He's a compatriot.
For the last hour or so, he has defended the trip. He has defended those who've gone on it. To him, he sees nothing to question.
I think that is not the right question you should be asking me.
Because does that concern you? Because of the seat that he holds, he represents the teachers. You're talking about reforms in education.
Yes.
This is a man who represents the teachers.
teacher representatives even in this trip.
I think, are you really asking me the right question?
Really asking that question.
Because you're asking me to judge Susion on this part.
Are you concerned by his perspective, which is markedly different from yours?
Yeah. You want it? You want me to be exchanging with him?
I think you are taking this.
Let me continue. Let me just continue a little bit, yeah, because I think it would be proper. Because one, I'm receiving this on the newspapers. First, I don't even know how come the newspaper is reporting it that way. When I saw the morning dailies, I actually went to the lady who is here. I was looking. Oh, it's great, and only to see there's some scandal. So I don't know the intention. And I said, because with the moment we start transacting serious state institutions' business without adequate information, I would be incompetent to do that. I've only given you the principal position.
From what you've seen
principal position. I would least expect that our state officers are just there looking for opportunities for travel. I would be so much worried.
But on face value, what do you see? We're sending 85. Nigeria, with a population of 200 million, is sending only 20. Is it prudent use of money? From a basic approach, you don't have to know the nitty-gritties of the travel. From a basic pedestrian approach, is it prudent use of money?
The prudent use of money is prioritization. What is the key priority for us? So
this is not a priority, is it?
Prioritization.
At a time when you're fighting cancer.
I've given you the examples of what I'll go for. Given this money, I've given you an example of what I'll go for given this money. I would ensure that those children under trees,
it wouldn't be a trouble.
I've got some classrooms.
Given this money, it wouldn't be
given this money, I would tell, I'm giving you the priority of where I'll go for.
Okay.
Yes, I think I'm very clear.
Just a loud thought. Just a loud thought. Because I also don't, I'm not in the picture how this program was arranged, but I'm sure
you've not been invited to travel.
It must be properly organized. Assuming this is a trip that is sponsored by other organizations and it is programmed properly, where does it injure anyone? So what we need is to get credible data and information. How did this trip come about? What is intended to achieve? Why the huge team with the secretariat Because that's the practice of
the issue.
The author here says
So,
that it is sponsored by Parliament.
It's sponsored by Parliament, and
That's
even
the
if it was
first-
sponsored by
first
other
paragraph.
people,
Yes.
why don't we channel those resources in different issues?
and I
We're fighting
think,
cancer now.
Trevor,
People
can I say
counting
something?
and I
Because
think
I
we're going
Honorable
to.
Sosio here.
I think we are going too far on this.
Yeah.
The truth is, now that this is public knowledge, can we eventually know what the nature of the trip, the activities? But I can tell you, from my honest experience, I'm not defending Parliament simply because I'm in Parliament. No, I know Kenyan parliamentarians in all their international trips are very outstanding in activities, in work, in programs, and I'm sure this is not a holiday. It is a serious engagement on behalf of
I'm
Parliament.
not sure that's a fair statement.
Yeah,
that
I just wanted to say that, really,
No.
I do.
Don't have a fixed mind and a fixed
I do
position. And I've
understand.
said this is a bad script for the country.
Yeah.
And,
I do
let's hear
understand the dilemma of the Honorable Sosio, and really he's done well. And one thing I really like about it is that he really wishes that this probably could be used to fix some of the issues that are there in education. But he also agrees, and I know for sure he is not the spokesperson of Parliament in this matter. And I want to probably throw it back to you. Kindly follow this up to those people that could probably have all the facts, so that then it is explained to the Kenyans how did we get here, and what value this is, this is going to add to us. And as Boaz said, even before the newspaper reports to us, because we are looking so naive that we are now getting this information and now overreacting on the paper, yet the budget has probably existed for a very long time. Is it that there are budgets other than this one that we don't know, and we are waiting for that big headline in the newspaper, and then we start, running all over the place? I mean, what is a place of system? And I really want to rely on this statement that the president has proposed cuts. At what point does Parliament get the president, as much as it is an independent institution in every other institution? Because I sit in a task force that we have agreed that we are not going to be traveling to benchmark. There's so many ways of benchmarking. You could Google out, you could read, you could do so much.
Or send one person.
So really, what is the value? And even if the trip was valuable, was this the most cost-effective way of us going about it? But I still know that maybe you will follow the story on behalf of the Kenyans. So the person who the buck stops with, probably they will give the Kenyans a very good statement.
Final comment. Let him speak, then we'll give you a final comment.
I think it's very worrying, and I'll go back to what I said. This could be a tip of the iceberg of what takes place. And so when you have got this kind of wastage, wanton, it doesn't matter how you call it. This is what happens on every single day. For the fact that the Commission for Revenue Allocation even stipulates the stipends, knows very well that these kind of things are expected. We must have an honest conversation on whether this is the prudent way of how we should utilize the little resources that we have. In a country such as ours, I don't think that it's necessary for us to get lost into this grammar and these semantics we are calling benchmarking and whatever. There is so much that we can do. Some of us have developed very, very important skills, if at all we consider them to be important. Using technology, YouTube is there and many other things. You can go to learn them. You don't need to send a whole delegation of all these number of people that we are sending over there. How, even if you decided to give each one of them 5 minutes, will they talk in that meeting? It will be practically impossible.
Okay,
let's find out on this.
Thank you, Trevor. Yeah. Thanks, Maura. I think my position still remains, one, it is not really appropriate for us to be using the meager resources that we have on issues that, for me, I would not consider priority. And I'm saying so because, one, I said I don't even know how these headlines and all that came about. Maybe it is masking a lot of things. This may not necessarily be the only scandal. It's called scandal. This may not necessarily be the only scandal. We are yet to resolve the 100 million jet scandal by the deputy president. We are yet to resolve so many. And even going to the wholesome picture of the presidency, state house and all that, in terms of budget appropriation, how do we listen to the controller of budget? Are we really clear that we want to put things properly in order and effectively ensure that anybody who goes against it has consequences upon them. So for me, I think the media should help the public because these headlines of 1 day, 2 days, and it goes, I would be thinking that when I see this, I read behind the headlines, because I start asking, what is it that is being covered? For instance, there could be the conference that's going on CBC. The education sector is in disarray. We don't want that one to have to be unpacked, and that's why we are throwing something there. We could also be having, you see, the cases that are all over the country. There are people.
There could be a scheme to derail the public from other matters. Is that?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Possibility.
That's
Correct,
a possibility.
Yes.
I'm simply saying that.
But with you.
I actually don't want. By the way, I think when I also come to join here, because I do assume that we should not be basing our arguments on hearsays and all that. And of course, it would only be fair. You ask me my opinion, but when I don't have sufficient information, then don't ask me deeply, just to be very exact. Because honestly, when I don't have that information, I don't want to be a rumor monger, because I have a profession to protect. So I think it is important. Yeah. I like the way the media is actually poking and trying to investigate. This investigative journalism should go deep. When they come up, first there should be that report that one can look at, because facts speak for themselves.
All right.
Two, when it comes out, I think when you invite comments and all that, probably we then have got a background and you can base it on. And don't just focus on one particular institution. I think we should look at a number of the institutions. And I'm not excusing any institution. Any institution that is out of order should be called back to order.
Fair enough. All right, now we have to take a quick break. When we come back, now we talk about the CBC. That was the main topic we were supposed to discuss this morning before the front page took over. But let's see what you're saying on social media, SMS 22422, and on Twitter as well at Citizen TV Kenya. Let's bring them up, see what you're saying before we take that quick break.
Okay, Kennedy Atinda, our MPs will never give in to anything that affects their welfare. Imagine if they realize their shadows make it hard for them, or they will chop off their shadows by whatever formula. The current parliament, more so the National Assembly, has taught us the hard way. Okay?
All right, let's see another one. Engineer Lazaro says Honorable Sosion is contradicting himself. He's claiming to be fighting for the oppressed teachers and at the same time supporting wastage of the national resources by his colleagues.
All right.
Let's see what you're saying on SMS.
22422, that's our SMS line. Robert Masharia, since our parliament is very progressive and democratically mature, as Sosion says, let's wait for the counterparts, 85 congressmen and women from the US, to attend a conference in Kenya to be addressed by Kenyan music artists.
All right. And Alvin Musamali says, sincerely speaking, Trevor and Waiga, what is wrong with these MPs? Why MPs?
My
MP has never stepped foot in his constituency, and yet he's a frontliner in defending monetary allocations for MPs.
Okay, I think we have one or two more. Our last one, Evans from Wingi. We're not happy with our MPs' huge expenditure on this issue at a time when our counties have turned the guns on us in terms of revenue collection in order to deliver services. Shame on Parliament.
All right.
When we come back,
we shift the conversation.
That's right. Lack of clarity mars grade 3 national assessment is what you find at the top of the front page of the Daily Nation. Head teachers say registration has been hampered by technology hiccups, while others say they don't know how to prepare their pupils for crucial tests. This morning we're asking you, what has been your CBC experience so far? Are you a parent? Are you in the education system? Are you a guardian? What has been your experience? Please let us know. We'll get into that on the other side of the break.
Yes, tweet at Citizen TV Kenya, Trevor Mbija, Waiga Mwaura, 22422 is the SMS line. I see some of them already. We'll start with them when we come back and talk about the CBC. Has it worked? Should we be adopting it as Kenya or not? That in just a bit.